Man, did it seem, did it, Mark, let me ask you, did it feel like that you were a little kid again watching that shit? Oh, hell yeah, it did. Hell yeah, I sure felt like a little kid again. That was my first time watching WOFs in Sandhurst long after Charlie O'Donnell passed away. Now this show is never going to be really never going to be the same again now.
From Sony Pictures Studios, it's America's Game.
Place, and she's already nodding. Let me build some tension at least. You have only 10 seconds to do this. There's quite a bit at stake here, Adrian. Okay. Good luck.
Back porch.
Yeah, got it.
No, I didn't.
Adrian, memories and money go together. $50,000.
Which means she has $79,598. Who needs all the rounds?
Man, what a bittersweet episode of WOF for Pat Sajak / Tura. But before, I will admit, my eyes did get a little watery, even though I was more of a Trebek person and a Sajak person growing up watching both Wheel and Jeopardy as a kid back in its heyday. Even GSN reruns in the 80s and 90s. We're playing 80s and 90s episodes from 1999, 2000, and onward pre-2004. But keep in mind, for the young generation that doesn't remember, and to be fair, I wasn't born yet, but I'm old enough to remember because I used to look at this stuff online. I used to watch, standalone clips on YouTube before all these greedy copyright bastards from all these different companies, got involved and, trashed all these videos that were, in really good hands back in the early days of YouTube. But this isn't the first time Pat has left WOF. For those who don't or too young to remember, WOF did not begin like this with Pat Sajak and Vanna White. It did begin with Charlie O'Donnell, yes, but even after Pat and then eventually Vanna got there, Charlie wasn't to do other work because he thought WOF was actually getting canceled for a talk show called The Tony Tennell Show because let me get straight to you. Wheel of Fortune started off as a whole franchise as a daytime game show in 1975 with Chuck Woolery and Susan Stafford as the OG Pat and Vanna, which is why Merv had to scrape the original Art Fleming Don Pardo version of Jeopardy to make room for his Wheel of Fortune franchise. And then when Chuck Woolery had Merv had a salary dispute, that's when Pat Sajak got hired by Merv to take his place. And then I think Susan left. I can't remember the reason why Susan left. I remember looking this up when I was learning all the history of Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy in the last leg of its heyday. But Susan left for a reason I don't remember. That's when Vanna came in 1982. And that daytime show was so good that it gave us the nighttime show that is still going strong today. Unfortunately, the daytime show, it went through too many changes in the twilight of it. Because as soon as Pat left, I don't want to spoil it for you. Take a look at this clip from January 1989 and from the daytime version, which is what started the beginning of the end of the daytime version of Wheel of Fortune. As in, this isn't the first time Pat has made an exit from Wheel of Fortune as a whole.
Flashback.
Weird because it's a goodbye to some of you, and because I've been doing the show about 7 years now, and this is my last daytime Wheel of Fortune. But I will continue to be on the nighttime show, and I know we'll be seeing a lot of you there. I want to thank NBC for being terrific the last 7 years. But I, publicly want to thank somebody. I'm going to see the crew and I'm going to see the staff around, so you guys know that. That's okay. But Merv Griffin hired me for this thing, and it was, it was a pretty courageous choice at the time. And I know he had to do a little upstream swimming to make it happen, and I appreciate it, and I always will. And I just want to thank him publicly. The hard part, though, is I'm going to have to work like 50% less with you.
I know.
Isn't that going to be?
It really is. I have enjoyed working with you. You've taught me so much over these past years.
Yeah, I like this. There's this great trick I taught her where you pull like this rabbit out of a hat. That's a good one. And the trick with the milk and the thing, that's nice. But seriously, folks, there will be an exciting, wonderful, terrific guy here on Monday. I don't want to give it away right now for various reasons, but Monday, tune in. And I know you two will have fun. Yeah. So we have about 15 seconds left. I don't know what. Come here, baby.
sure I get a cheat. I get a cheat. You got the full. What's been going on here?
I had no idea you were here. I wouldn't have said
here.
those, I wouldn't have said those nice
Pat,
things.
I wouldn't have missed this.
How nice of you to come
You
by.
wouldn't have said those nice things?
One day I would have, sure.
7 years.
And I've learned a lot, don't you?
7 years.
Isn't that amazing?
Why are you leaving? Why?
I don't know. Just, well, we have other opportunities, you know. We move on. But you know how show business works, yeah.
It's terrific. He's going to have his own talk show.
Do you know anything about talk shows?
I do.
Oh, boy, okay.
And I want you to feel free to call on Van and me.
All right.
Any problems, we'll be there. I will come on in a body stocking and hit and throw a chair at him. Vanna will come on and put on weight on television. We'll get you a rating.
Do you know that the weight that Oprah lost, they actually took that and built another talk show host who's very successful in the Northeast right now? Yeah, got her own show. Little 65-pounder. She's terrific.
Pat, you've done a great job for us. We're all going to miss you in the daytime.
Yes, we are.
But he'll still be here nighttime and even later than nighttime.
You got it. Thanks, Murph.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
See you Monday, folks. You be here, okay?
You didn't tell him who the host was.
No, secret.
Who is it?
We'll tell you Monday.
Oh, we'll tell you Monday.
Thank you.
End of flashback.
So yeah, that clip right there from his last daytime show. So then an random NFL player that I didn't even know he was an NFL player when I first heard of that this guy hosted Daytime Wheel the Wheel of Fortune, a former daytime version. Ralph Bernard-Scott took his place, but they dipped in ratings so bad because everybody was watching the daytime version when Pat was doing both that and nighttime, that more people watching nighttime and daytime lost ratings, and then they moved it from NBC to CBS from 1989 to 2001. What am I saying? To January 1991, I think it was, and 3 days after CBS just pulled the plug, NBC picked it back up, where it remained until, September 20th, 1991, when it ended for good. So, since I wasn't born at all during that time period, I never got to see the Daytime Wheel for myself, but I'm old enough to remember it. So, without Daytime Wheel, there will be no Nighttime Wheel. And then they see when the Nighttime Wheel premiered in 83, 84, a year after that, the current syndicated nighttime version of Jeopardy came with Alex Trebek and Johnny Gilbert, which is what gave us the 7 o'clock, 7:30 Wheel and Jeopardy lineup on Channel 5 WEWS ABC Cleveland, Channel 4 WDIV NBC Detroit, and then here when I came back to Ohio from Michigan the second tenure with WAWS ended and moved to WOIO.19 CBS Cleveland. And then Charlie passed away in the beginning of the day after Halloween. I've right on, not long in when the 2010-2011 season was still young and all that stuff. Man, I mean, Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy has evolved a lot since, I've grown up, and eventually it got stale. Alex got sick in 2019 from pancreatic cancer, which is cancer in the stomach, and then it eventually took his life, on my uncle's birthday in the next year, day before my number one boy best friend, Caden Clapham's mom's birthday. So the Jeopardy tangents will be saved for another day, another video when we're making Jeopardy related videos. So enough going down memory lane and our memories with the show and the history we know about it. But Pat Sajak's last episode was last Friday. I didn't have enough time to watch it until today when I called off work today because I just wasn't feeling, I wasn't in the mood. I wasn't feeling the energy. And tomorrow I called off too so I can see my cousin Chase, not because I love that kid. So Wednesday I'll be back in time for it to finally, it warms up. It's smooth sailing and free game. Tomorrow will be just a wind up, but and I'm sorry for the lack of YouTube videos. I mean, I've been trying to get something done, but I promise you, starting with this one, we're going to get back in the game. But anyway, let's go over Pat's final episode, shall we? So that was a beautiful ending right there, which I'll get to a little later. But the way Pat, did all that, some of this new stuff they do now compared to when I was growing up, the older episodes that I hang on to, it was my first time seeing myself in real time. It was my first time seeing the winning contestant of the main game pick a category for the bonus round, which when I was a kid, you didn't do that. You got what they gave you themselves. I got to see the triple toss-up in action for the first time, which is, they've had toss-ups since, like, almost the very beginning of my time there, like, not long after I began watching the show. But triple toss-ups they never had until, like during the modern-day Sandy Ridge year, because even OG Sandy Ridge year, they didn't have triple toss-up, you know. Let me see here. I got to see, there was a lot of cool stuff that they didn't have during the show's heyday when I was a kid and Charlie O was there that they have now that I never got to see until tonight. I mean, I just so much to unpack though. I mean, and the way Pat wanted to scrap around and out of his last show, and if I was younger and I was watching this, I would have been bitching up a certain like this. I get it's your last show, but this is not the way to do it. But now that I'm older, I really don't care how things are, how like certain things are done for special occasions no more, or certain situations. You know, I just go along with it and let them do whatever makes them happy and whatever. But you know, I mean, I don't think Pat was expecting to land on the mystery wedge, so he said, to hell with this shit. We're gonna give you guys $5,000 just for shits and giggles. I mean, he didn't say it like that, but that's how he meant it. And so that gave everybody a real boost, you know, to say, you know, in terms of hopefully being the Pat's final winner during his time on the show before Ryan Seacrest takes over next season. So therefore, I mean, it felt good seeing Changing Keys again, considering they brought that back in 2021 and with the 21-22 season, which it was wrong of them to do away with that theme song to begin with. As someone who grew up with the 1997-2000 theme first, and then during the time that was used, I was growing up on GSN reruns, where the first season I saw on GSN was 95-96, then 96-97 when I was listening to the 94-97 theme over there, which is 97-2000, was just an upgraded version of 94-97. It was the 94-2000 Changing Key style. Well, mostly everybody remembers 83 to 1994, because when I played Wheel of Fortune from the Game Boy, when I started watching Wheel and Jeopardy, when I heard the 83-94 style, I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't sound like the one we hear on the show, because I didn't understand anything about the history and stuff that came before my time, being 4, 5, 6 years old back then. So then when they were playing the 88-89 season on GSN in 2003, the last of GSN's heyday and its good years, you know, that's when I figured out, oh, this came before the one I grew up with. This is what's on the Game Boy version. So, okay, they based the Game Boy version's theme song off this version, 1983-89. So, 94 to 97, 2000 was okay. It was okay because, you know, it was still Changing Keys. It was just a different style. But the fact they did away with Changing Keys as a whole from 2000 to 2020, 2021, they shouldn't have done that to begin with, because it just didn't give Wheel of Fortune its own trademark with the theme song, like how Jeopardy's always changed their themes over the years. But they kept the same melody and they kept the same title. Think, do, 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 tip me over and pour me out, bum bum. See, Wheel of Fortune will always be known for the do 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 do. But many people who grew up with it from 2000, 2001 to 2019, 2020, or hell, 2020, 2021, they're not going to remember that. I mean, OGs who actually saw the GSN reruns from 1994 to 2003, or for me, 99, 2000 to 2003. Of course, we're going to remember that because that's how old we are. So, because imagine if Jeopardy had done the same thing. They did away with their classic think music and came up with some, you know, random tune, like, you know, Wheel did with Happy Wheels and all the other stuff they did. Whatever that theme was from 2007 to 2016, the last of the Charlie era and the first of the Jim Thornton era. Imagine if Jeopardy did the same thing. The internet would have a bigger uproar than how Wheel did it. But, man, I will never forget Pat as long as I live, considering even though I was more of a Trebek than Sajak fan, and while I respect that Sajak has done for his legendary career, and the fact that, you know, he was just as much of a legend as Alex Trebek, there was a difference between the two. And this is I'm now no disrespect to Pat Sajak, but I noticed the difference between the two. Alex Trebek knew when it was time to be serious and when there was a time and a place to be goofy and silly. And you see, when Pat Sajak, he was he was not as serious half the time and thought it would be okay to be silly, funny, and goofy all the time, which, okay, that's part of who he is. I get it. And, every once in a while, it's nice to be silly and goofy, but there's a time and a place for that. So Pat Sajak was a silly and goofy, even though it was not the time and the place for that. You know what I mean? But I was too young. I was a kid. I was a kid. I would just go along with it, because I didn't understand about time and the place to be silly and when to be serious. But now I'm older, I understand that. It's like, yeah, he was a legend. He was a legend in his own way. It was a great, all-time great, like Trebek and Booty Barker from The Price is Right. But unlike Trebek and Barker, he was always silly and goofy whenever it was not the time and the place to be silly and goofy. I learned that as I got older. See. But still, you get the point. He's still going to be relatively missed. He did crack a lot of good jokes, even when it was time to be silly and goofy. But, I got to say, it was nice to get the speed up bell again. And the show went by really, really fast. And we got to see the speed up round again. We got to see the final spin again. It's criminal that the host doesn't spin the wheel for the final spin no more. Seeing the contestants spin the wheel for the final spin and then return Pat pick out, or the host, Ryan, well, not next year, Ryan Seacrest, Pat pick up the bonus envelope out of the bonus wheel instead of contestants like I was used to. That's all criminal, but hey, I get it. Life goes on. It's part of life to change, stuff changes and evolves to keep up with modern times, but it's hard for us older people when it comes to change because, a lot of us older folks don't like change, so that's why, for me, I don't know about other older folks, but I have a tendency to hang on to old shit because that's what I'm used to, and that's what I personally prefer. But let's face it, let's be realistic here. Let's put all the old school bias aside for a moment. You see, for the new generation, I have a lot of younger friends in real life nowadays that, are younger than me, that are still in school, that probably weren't even born or just little babies and little infants when I was growing up their age back then, the age they're at now when I was that age back then. They missed out on a good time, what life used to be like with game shows, sports and whatnot, but particularly NASCAR, Wheel of Fortune, and Jeopardy. And let me just be honest, I'm also glad for them in a way that if they want to get into Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy or even The Price is Right, they're getting their own people to grow up with. Ryan Seacrest, Ken Jennings, Jim Thornton, Drew Carey, because the only ones left from my childhood that I know of are Vanna White and Johnny Gilbert. Those are the only two from my childhood that are left that the new generation is going to see the last of before they get their next fresh face to replace them, what they're going to grow up with, because Vanna can't turn the letters forever, and Johnny can't be the voice of Jeopardy forever. Eventually something has to change to the point where they'll have to retire, or they let it keep going until the day they pass on before they have the chance to retire. Because I know there's some people who said, oh, Johnny will retire before he passes. Well, that's what we said about Alex Trebek and Charlie O'Donnell back in the day when I was a kid, and look what happened. They didn't get a chance to formally retire from Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune under their own terms. I'm sure Alex would have been close to retirement around now, because he would have been 84 next month on the 22nd. He would have been 84 the same day my number one boy best friend would have been 17, because they were born on the same day, July 22nd, except Caden was 2006, while Alex was the same age as my grandfather, 1940. So Charlie would have been in his 90s by now, so therefore, since Johnny is more durable than Charlie, I'm pretty sure Charlie would have retired first had he still been here. He probably would have came back to visit for all the special all episodes, like the 8,000 show they filmed, stuff like that, because Harry Friedman came back, so I'm pretty sure Charlie would have too. But if you want to look at the birthday tribute we did for Charlie at the Cornfest 2018, where we honored his legacy for what was his 86th birthday in 2018, we're also mixing in Savannah May when Night Squad was on the airways on Nickelodeon. Please do that, link in the description, because the ending is what we'll get to, how we concluded the video. I did my normal outro, and then I let Charlie from an old Wheel of Fortune episode of 1996 do the rest. So therefore, that's what I think I'm going to have Pat do here when we get to the end. But that bonus round puzzle, some of those puzzles were easy tonight. On Friday, but I watched on the DVR tonight. But a lot of those puzzles were really easy. Some I didn't get a chance to solve for myself. I got one wrong guess on the triple toss-up, but hey, it's all fine and dandy. I don't even watch too much Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy nowadays anyway, considering they've both been stale, even before Alex got sick, even before the thought of Pat retiring was a thing and all the other stuff, But, yeah, I'm going to miss you, Pat. I mean, I hope Ryan Seacrest will. I know he's not ever going to be you the same way Ken Jennings is not Alex Trebek, even though Ken Jennings is somewhat close to Alex, considering, Ken competed on the show and became a game show legend himself in the role of a contestant when Alex was hosting when I lived in Michigan in the Lenore house. But I'm sure Ryan Ryan will make you proud. And my personal hope is that, once Vanna eventually hangs up the dress and, calls it quits on turning the letters, I hope Maggie or his daughter takes the role, because she's the perfect person for her job once Vanna eventually decides it's time for her to go, because she did a hell of a job, taking Vanna's role in the Celebrity spinoff not too long ago when there was the Wheel of Fortune and versus Jeopardy special. Because if Alex were alive still to host it, damn well he would have been competing on Wheel of Fortune again. Because it wasn't his first time competing on that. I would throw a clip on that, but I just like showing it to you from Halloween 2000. But I want to get the video over with, the sooner the better. But it would have been not really Alex's first time competing on it in an alternate universe where he never got his pancreatic cancer and, he's still alive. But, because remember the episode where, it was Vanna versus Ken versus Ma'am, even though Ma'am Alex sucked ass anyway. And since Vanna was a contestant, Pat was still hosting like normal. They had Maggie turn the letters. So I guess it makes sense for when Vanna eventually leaves altogether. It'll be time for Jim Thornton. We go from Charlie O'Donnell saying, here are the stars of our show, Pat Sajak and Vanna White, to Jim Thornton saying, here are the stars of our show, Ryan Seacrest and Maggie Sajak. So that would be something for the new generation for them to grow up with. And I'll end it off right here because I was mutating topics again because it's part of the autism. You see, thing is, my generation had Pat Sajak, Vanna White, Alex Trebek, Charlie O'Donnell, and Johnny Gilbert, while this generation is going to get Ryan Seacrest, possibly Maggie Sajak, Jim Thornton, Ken Jennings, and whoever's going to rotate Johnny's shoes eventually when he's no longer on Jeopardy. Because get this, it's nice that the new generation gets something of their own to grow up with. Since the people we're growing up with are either retiring or passing away. Because if this new generation that, I have, like, including my younger friends that I have in real life these days, they're still in school, had what we grew up with, like, even to this day, it wouldn't be as, good, like, as great as it was back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. But it wouldn't be as stale either. It would be good for us, but at the same time, be boring for them. So you got to think about it and take the old school bias hat off. For the sake of the new generation. So the new generation wants to get into Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy these days. Eventually Vanna and Johnny go away to join Ryan, Jim, and Ken on the set. I'm sure they'll love it. And I'm sure they'll learn about the older episodes of the show, flashbacks on certain modern day episodes from time to time. Or if older folks like me want to show them on YouTube, where these greedy copyright bastards, these companies are not getting in the way, where I could show them what it looked like when I was growing up before their time. So that is all I have to say for now. It's not goodbye, Pat Sajak. It's till we meet again. At least we've actually got to see you retire from your show under your own terms, where poor Alex didn't get to do that. But hey, that's life sometimes. So my next Wheel of Fortune adventure will be my game night series, where I'm going to be going from PS1, first and second edition, PS2, let me see here, the plug and play, to Nintendo Wii, to eventually live action, where me and Julie or whoever I might be dating next, if that doesn't go well, will be Pat and Vanna, and then Jack Attack Barnhart will be the late great Charlie O'Donnell. It's going to be the same thing with Jeopardy, oldest to newest video game to eventually live action. And the last thing I'll say to leave this off with, whenever I do Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy videos on this channel going forward, never will I replace my childhood heroes. I'm never replacing Alex. And I'm never going to replace Pat either. And I'm definitely never replacing Charlie. And even when Vanna and Johnny go away, I'm not replacing them either. Because at least the new generation will get to learn about what it was like when I was growing up before their time, which is what they missed out on. So thank you for the memories, Pat. Enjoy your retirement. And I heard you're going to be doing a new gig with this play. So I hope that's a lot of fun for you. So I'm a wheel watcher. I'm a wheel watcher. every day. Have a good night tonight and a better day tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Good night. I will see you all for the next video, whenever that may be. And to end this video, here's Pat Sajak with this, farewell message to all the fans to wrap this video up. And till we meet again, thanks for the memories. Goodbye, Pat. See you later, everyone.
Well, the time has come to say goodbye. I have a few thanks and acknowledgments before I go. And I want to start with all of you watching out there. It's been an incredible privilege to be invited into millions of homes, night after night, year after year, decade after decade. And I've always felt that the privilege came with a responsibility to keep this daily half hour a safe place for family fun. No social issues, no politics, nothing embarrassing, I hope, just a game. But gradually it became more than that. A place where kids learn their letters, where people from other countries hone their English skills, where families came together along with friends and neighbors and entire generations. What an honor to have played even a small part in all that. Thank you for allowing me into your lives. Every time we taped a show, I met 3 new people from all parts of this wonderful country and the world who were kind and considerate, who rooted for each other, who took great pride in talking about their family, their hometown, their friends, their schools, their jobs, even their pets. In the end, they were the real stars of the show. I genuinely like these people, and I'll miss the chance to meet more of them. To our staff and crew, particularly the veterans with whom I've shared the stage for 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30, and more, it's been a joy to work with you. Your skills and dedication and good humor made this a place I always wanted to be. Everyone pulled together and cared about each other and about this show. It worked because you made it work. It looked great because you made it look great. And you made my job so much easier. And I want you to know that your efforts never went unnoticed by me nor unappreciated. I'll miss you guys. The best part of the last couple of years have been the chance to work with my daughter Maggie, to watch her grow in her role and as a person. She interviewed me recently and I talked about my life and the show. I hope you've seen some of it online. I really enjoyed doing it. I have to admit it's a little weird to be interviewed by your own daughter, but you did a great job. Maggie is liked around here because she's talented and smart and funny, but she's loved around here because she's kind and caring and humble. Leslie and I are blessed to have 2 such wonderful kids. There's Maggie, of course, and her fabulous brother Patrick and his new family. As for Leslie, she's been my wife and life partner for 35 years. I love her for who she is and what we are as a team. Finally, to my professional other half, dear Vanna, like me, she takes the show very seriously, but not herself. I shudder to think what these 40-plus years might have been like had they brought someone in all full of themselves playing the prima donna role. Vanna is as sweet and unassuming as she seems. We've seen a lot of changes in each other's lives over the years, but we've always been there for each other. I want to thank her for her lovely goodbye on yesterday's show. And while I'll very much miss working with her, I take solace in the fact that we live about 5 miles apart, so we'll see plenty of each other. But I will miss our nightly closes and her laughter and her good nature. She's a very special woman. And I know you're all pleased to know that she'll be back next season. And by the way, you'll still see plenty of me for the next few months. That's right, summer reruns, so the jokes will be the same, but I'd appreciate it if you'd laugh again anyway. That's it. Thank you all so very much, and goodbye.